There was a time when Ginuwine felt larger than the entire R&B era around him. That was in the late 1990s. Songs like Pony weren't just popular records. They were everywhere. On MTV, in nightclubs, on the radio, at award shows. His voice, his image, and his smooth, confident presence became part of the culture itself. Back then, Ginuwine lived inside non-stop attention. Fame followed him everywhere. So did the pressure that came with being one of the defining faces of R&B. But as of now, his world looks very different. No constant Hollywood spotlight. No loud celebrity lifestyle designed for headlines. Instead, Ginuwine now lives a quieter life in Maryland, balancing music, touring, fatherhood, and the reality of growing older in an industry that no longer moves the way it once did. Because sometimes the hardest part of fame is not becoming successful. It's figuring out who you are after the noise finally starts fading away. So what does life actually look like for Ginuwine in 2026? After the fame, after the peak years, and after the industry stopped revolving around him. Surprisingly quiet. Not quiet in the sense that success disappeared, but quiet in the way someone lives when they no longer feel the need to constantly prove they still matter. These days, Ginuwine's world feels centered in Maryland, far away from the non-stop celebrity culture of Beverly Hills or the hyper-visible entertainment scene in Atlanta. And through the videos and photos he regularly shares with his more than 1 million Instagram followers, a much more personal version of his life slowly comes into focus. The house itself is clearly impressive, large, carefully designed, and undeniably luxurious. From the dramatic double staircase at the entrance to the custom wall lighting and massive open living spaces, the property still reflects the success of someone who spent decades in the music industry. The interior carries almost a hotel-style atmosphere: polished floors, oversized rooms, elegant furniture, wide entertainment areas, but somehow it still feels lived in rather than staged. And that difference matters. Because the energy inside the home feels very different from the flashy celebrity mansions often associated with 90s R&B stars. This doesn't look like a house built to constantly remind people that its owner used to be famous. It looks like a place built for real life. Family gatherings, holiday dinners, children running through the halls, grandchildren playing in the living room, daughters, relatives, and loved ones naturally gathering together without the space ever feeling overly formal. That may be the most surprising thing about the house. For all its luxury, the atmosphere feels deeply personal. Even the quieter moments Ginuwine shares online completely change the way people see the mansion. Sometimes he's sitting comfortably watching boxing on a giant wall-mounted television. Sometimes he's relaxing with his granddaughter. Sometimes he's lying on the carpet playing with family while the massive house around him almost disappears into the background. It feels like peace. At one point, he even casually showed followers that the home includes its own smart robot moving through the house. One of those small, modern details that makes the space feel less like a celebrity showcase and more like a real home evolving with everyday life. Outside, the property continues that same balance between comfort and quiet luxury. There's a large swimming pool, a huge front area that can easily function as parking space during family gatherings or celebrations. Wide open outdoor space. And maybe that's where the real twist in Ginuwine's lifestyle begins to appear. The most interesting thing about his life in Maryland is not what he owns. It's the fact that he no longer seems interested in proving it. That energy is completely different from the version of celebrity culture people usually associate with artists from the late 90s and early 2000s, an era built around visibility, status, jewelry, headlines, and constant attention. Ginuwine already lived through that version of fame, and now the house almost feels like the opposite of it. Not a retreat from success, but a retreat from performance. Because after decades of screaming fans, non-stop touring, cameras, interviews, and public pressure, maybe a normal life eventually becomes the rarest luxury of all. But to understand why this quieter life matters so much to him now, we have to go back to where the pressure really started. Long before Ginuwine became one of the defining voices of late 90s R&B, he was simply Elgin Baylor Lumpkin, a kid growing up in Forestville, Maryland, inside the DMV area of DC, Maryland, and Virginia. Even his name carried history. He was named after legendary NBA player Elgin Baylor, one of Washington, D.C.'s most respected sports icons and someone his mother deeply admired. And in a strange way, that name almost foreshadowed the expectations that would later follow him through life. Because from very early on, Ginuwine seemed drawn toward performance, toward movement, toward rhythm. As a child, he became obsessed with artists like Michael Jackson and Prince. He loved the energy, the stage presence, the mystery around them. At just 12 years old, he joined a breakdancing group called Finesse 5, spending years learning how to move in front of crowds before he ever fully understood what fame actually cost. And maybe that's important, because before Ginuwine became known for his voice, he first learned how to connect through presence, through feeling, through energy. That would later become one of the biggest reasons he stood out from almost every other R&B singer of his era. As he got older, he became deeply connected to the DMV music scene, performing regularly at local clubs throughout Maryland and nearby areas. Those early performances were not glamorous. Small stages, local crowds, night after night trying to hold people's attention. But those rooms quietly built the foundation for everything that came later. They taught him timing, confidence, stage control, how to pull emotion out of an audience without overperforming. And eventually, that local grind led him toward the opportunity that would completely change his future. Ginuwine became part of Swing Mob, also known as Da Bassment Crew, the legendary music collective created by Devontae Swing from Jodeci in Rochester, New York. At the time, almost nobody realized how important that collective would become. Inside that same creative environment were future stars like Missy Elliott, Timbaland, Magoo, and Static Major. It was less like a traditional music group, and more like a laboratory for the future sound of R&B and hip-hop. And somewhere inside that environment, Timbaland noticed something unusual about Ginuwine. Because during the 90s, male R&B was dominated by huge vocal performances. Powerful church-influenced singers, complex runs, heavy gospel technique. Everybody was competing vocally. But Ginuwine felt different. His strength was never about overpowering people with vocals. It was the opposite. He had a calm masculinity, a smooth, almost conversational delivery, a mysterious confidence that felt effortless instead of forced. There was something relaxed about him, cool without trying too hard, sensual without becoming theatrical. And underneath all of that was an emotional tone that made listeners feel like he meant every word he sang. That combination became his identity. While other singers impressed audiences technically, Ginuwine connected emotionally, and that difference slowly started separating him from everyone else around him. But behind all of that rising momentum, real life was becoming increasingly painful. In 1999, his father, James Lumpkin, a bus driver, died by suicide. Less than a year later, in 2000, his mother, Sandra Lumpkin, who worked as a nurse and government employee, died from cancer. The losses shattered him emotionally. Ginuwine later spoke openly about falling into severe depression, struggling with alcohol abuse, and even experiencing suicidal thoughts himself during that period of his life. And suddenly, the success that had once looked exciting no longer felt emotionally stable. One of the clearest windows into that pain came through the song "Two Reasons I Cry" from his 2001 album, The Life. A deeply personal reflection of grief, heartbreak, and emotional exhaustion after losing both parents so close together. And maybe that explains something important about Ginuwine. Even at the height of his fame, There was always a certain sadness underneath the smooth image, a certain vulnerability hidden beneath the confidence. But ironically, that pain may have made his music even more relatable, more human, more believable. Because once Timbaland started building futuristic production around his voice, Ginuwine stopped looking like another local singer from Maryland. He suddenly looked like the future of R&B, and in 1996 that future arrived with one record, Pony. Produced by Timbaland and co-written with Static Major, Pony did not sound like the usual R&B hit of that era. The beat was minimal, strange, mechanical, and seductive all at once, built with futuristic drums, unusual synth bass, and a sound so different that it immediately separated Ginuwine from the crowd. The result was massive. Pony climbed to number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100 and reached number 1 on the R&B chart, according to Billboard. And the music video, with Ginuwine riding a horse inside a Western-style bar, turned him from a new artist into an instant visual icon. Then came his debut album, Ginuwine, The Bachelor, released in October 1996. The album later earned 2 times platinum certification in the United States, according to the RIAA, meaning more than 2 million certified units. That was how he became one of the defining male R&B stars of the MTV era. Not by trying to outsing everyone, but by building a whole mood around himself. After Pony, the hits kept coming. So Anxious became one of his signature slow jams in 1999. Differences became the biggest charting single of his career, reaching number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 2001. And In Those Jeans kept his image alive in clubs and on radio in 2003. From the outside, this looked like a money machine. Album sales, touring, radio royalties, publishing, streaming, sync licensing, TV and film appearances. Songs like Pony continued to find new life through pop culture moments, including Magic Mike and video games like Grand Theft Auto 4. Ginuwine also appeared in projects like Juwanna Mann, Chocolate City, Moesha, Half and Half, Parks and Recreation, Celebrity Big Brother, and Your Husband is Cheating on Us. And even today, legacy R&B tours, casino shows, festivals, private events, and nostalgia concerts remain a major source of income for artists from his generation. But here is where the story becomes more complicated. According to Celebrity Net Worth, Ginuwine's current estimated net worth is around $1.5 million. For someone with multi-platinum success, that number surprises many fans. But in November 2014, reports said one of Ginuwine's attorneys claimed the singer was allegedly close to bankruptcy. The attorney reportedly said Ginuwine owed the IRS at least $300,000, along with other debts to legal firms and creditors. One creditor named in reports was Robert Reeves, executive producer of The Bachelor, who was seeking at least $250,000 in unpaid royalties. The attorney also connected part of the financial trouble to Ginuwine's divorce from his former wife, Soleil. And that reveals the real price of being an R&B icon. The hardest part is not always creating the hit. Sometimes it is surviving after your sound no longer dominates the culture. Because behind the celebrity image, another part of his life was becoming more important than fame itself. For most people, Ginuwine will probably always be remembered as the smooth R&B sex symbol from the MTV era, the artist behind sensual music videos, confident dance moves, and songs built around desire and attraction. But away from the stage, another identity slowly became more important to him over the years: fatherhood. Ginuwine is the father of 9 children. 7 biological children and 2 stepdaughters from his former marriage. Over the years, he welcomed children with 6 different women, creating a large blended family that eventually became the emotional center of his life, far away from cameras and performances. His most public relationship was with rapper Soleil, whose real name is Tanya Johnston. The two began dating in 1999 and married in 2003. Together, they had 2 daughters, Story Asandra, born in 2001, and Dream Sarai, born in 2002. But Ginuwine also helped raise Soleil's two daughters from a previous relationship, Dejan and Cyprus, treating them as his own inside their blended household. And maybe that says a lot about who he became outside the spotlight, because while the public often saw the performer, the private version of Ginuwine was increasingly centered around being dad. Even after the marriage ended in divorce in 2015, the relationship between Ginuwine and Soleil remained surprisingly respectful, especially for the sake of their children. In fact, after Soleil later married Professor Griff in 2017, Ginuwine publicly supported the importance of healthy co-parenting and emotional maturity between adults raising children together. In an interview with Essence, he explained it this way: "As grown men, we have to extend that same courtesy to our kids. This is how you make it right. This is the example you set for your kids." That quote feels important because it reveals how much his priorities changed over time. At one point, Ginuwine's entire public identity revolved around performance, image, and fantasy. But as of now, the moments he seems proudest of are often the quiet family ones he shares online. Photos with daughters, videos with grandchildren, holiday gatherings inside the Maryland house. And maybe that's the real contrast in Ginuwine's story. Many artists grow more distant from family as fame grows larger. Ginuwine almost seems to have moved in the opposite direction as he got older, less focused on maintaining the celebrity lifestyle. And maybe that's why Ginuwine in 2026 feels so different from the version people remember from MTV, because he's no longer trying to live like a fantasy. So what do you think about Ginuwine's life today? Do you still see him as the smooth R&B superstar from the Pony era? Or do you think the most interesting version of Ginuwine is actually the man he became after the fame,